The forgotten World War II cooling hack that beats modern camping gear without using a single watt. The first thing that hits you when you dig into frontline accounts from the Mediterranean, the Pacific or the North African deserts isn't the gunfire or the tactics. It's the heat. Heavy, oppressive, morale-breaking heat that cooked tents from the inside out and pushed soldiers to improvise physics just to stay sane. And here's the hook. The trick they came up with wasn't high-tech, wasn't classified, and sure, wasn't fancy. Yet it worked so consistently that entire units quietly adopted it as standard practice. And the wild part? Most modern campers, overlanders, and survivalists have completely forgotten it, even though it outperforms a lot of the cooling gadgets people carry today. Let's break this down like serious history buffs who also want actionable fieldcraft. No fluff, no theory that only works on paper. Just the real World War II airflow method that kept frontline troops alive, alert, and actually able to sleep. And how you can apply it today with absolute confidence. Why the air mattered more than the gear. Frontline tents were ovens. Canvas holds heat, radiates it back, and traps humidity. Soldiers quickly learned that a tent with all flaps tied down isn't shelter. It's a slow cooker. So they turned to the only tool they had in abundance, wind. Wind wasn't just a breeze. It became a resource, a tactical asset. And what soldiers discovered is that air passing near a tent doesn't automatically cool it. Most of it slips around the structure. The secret was forcing that air inside and guiding it in a controlled path instead of letting it scatter. That's where the airflow trick was born, one of the most elegant field hacks to come out of World War II camp life. How soldiers turned simple tent flaps into a working ventilation system. Here's the heart of the method. Troops realized that fully opening both sides of a tent doesn't create circulation. It creates a wide, lazy dead zone where air drifts in and out without force. So they changed the geometry. They angled the windward flap at about 45 degrees to act as a scoop. Not open, not closed, shaped. This captured moving air and pushed it downward into the tent instead of letting it skim above. Then they partially lowered the opposite flap, just a narrow gap along the edge. This created a small but powerful pressure difference that pulled air through the interior in a straight, fast line. Soldiers called it a wind lane, and you'll find references to it from Sicily to Burma to the Philippines. It wasn't theory. It was used because it worked. And here's something modern campers forget. More open isn't better. Direction beats exposure every single time. If you're setting this up today, it's simple. Pitch your shelter so its length faces the prevailing wind. Use a pole or tie to set your inlet flap at a firm angle, tight enough to hold shape. On the opposite side, loosen the flap just enough for a narrow exit slit. If the wind shifts, reposition the scoop instead of opening everything. Small changes create massive results, and the airflow becomes focused, not scattered. The ground became their silent cooling engine. But the airflow trick was only half the story. Soldiers needed a way to stabilize interior temperatures long after the hottest hours. So they turned to the second part of their cooling system, the trench. Hot air rises, cold air sinks. Simple physics. Troops dug a shallow trench, usually around a foot deep, directly beneath the center of the tent floor. They weren't digging for storage. They were digging to harvest cool night air. That trench became a reservoir. As the wind lane pulled air through the tent, the passing current skimmed across the cooler pocket in the trench. The temperatures mixed, rose slowly, and kept the shelter tolerable long after the morning chill disappeared. Reports from North Africa mention reductions of a few degrees, but don't let the number fool you. A 3-degree drop in a canvas tent at 100 degrees Fahrenheit can be the difference between sleep and delirium. It can mean functioning the next morning instead of stumbling through a patrol. Try it today and you'll see how immediate the effect is. Mark the centerline of your tent. Dig a trench roughly 30 centimeters deep and 40 centimeters wide. Pack the edges. Drop mesh or a thin board grid if bugs worry you. Pitch the tent right over it. Then activate the flap scoop and exit gap. You'll feel the difference within minutes. Why these two simple tools amplify each other. Separately, the angled flaps and the trench help a little. Together, they create a controlled airflow loop that keeps the interior breathable, drier, and far cooler. When this system is active, air doesn't meander. It moves with direction, purpose, and force. Exactly what you'd want in a shelter designed to keep humans functional in oppressive heat. Testing this today produces the same results soldiers reported. On a hot day with moderate wind, you can drop the tent's interior temperature by roughly 4 degrees after the loop stabilizes. More importantly, humidity declines. That alone changes sleep quality drastically. No batteries, no fans, no reflective tarps. Just a setup that costs nothing and works anywhere air exists. How to apply the World War II airflow method in real outdoor life. If you're running a long-term camp, bushcraft, hunting, overlanding, research, you want this system. Start by watching the wind for a few minutes. Align your tent so the long axis faces it. Set the scoop flap at an angle. Create the exit slit. Then dig your trench and let physics handle the rest. This is the kind of fieldcraft that stays with you because it doesn't rely on gear. It relies on understanding air, something soldiers mastered because the war forced them to. And here's the deeper truth. Troops don't keep using a technique unless it delivers. This airflow method jumped continents for a reason. It was copied, shared, included in post-war manuals, and passed quietly from generation to generation of outdoor personnel. That's the real endorsement. If you're serious about survival skills or historical fieldcraft, this is one of those World War II adaptations worth preserving. It's efficient, practical, and shockingly overlooked in modern camping culture. If you learned something new today and want more forgotten methods that actually work, make sure you subscribe to HistoryHQ and share this with someone who loves the intersection of history and survival as much as we do.